y'all hear me? Great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. My name is Beth Alberti. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a fifth-year graduate student here, and I'm serving as the election commissioner this year. As you'll see on your program, we've got a program for you this year. This is a little bit different than in years past. In the past, we've had a debate, but since we only have one ticket this year, we decided to structure to this evening's event a little bit differently. You'll see that part one will be opening statements from the candidates, where they have an opportunity to introduce themselves. And then we'll have an opportunity for our panelists to ask them questions. The questions that will be asked in part two were sent from the current executive board members holding each respective position, and then reviewed and revised by the SGA advisors and by me before being finalized for tonight. And then finally, in our third part, we're going to have this open forum. We've attempted to start this hashtag campaign, hashtag AskSGA2014, in an attempt to field student questions via Twitter. There will also be opportunities for you as audience members to ask questions during this time. So before we get into the program, I just wanted to give a special thanks to all the people who have helped make this event possible. I've got two of my commission members in the front row, Megan and Becky, so thank you for all your hard work. Our panelists this evening are going to be Mr. Vidur Sharma, our current SGA president, Mr. David Young, our Student Involvement Center SGA advisor, and Father Paul Stark, the SLU vice president of mission and ministry. So thank you for being here tonight. And finally, a special thank you to Ms. Donna Bess-Myers for all her advice. This event definitely would not have been possible without the support of Donna and David, so thank you both so much. All right. For our first portion of the program, each candidate is going to have the opportunity to introduce him or herself. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for this little introductory statement. And our commission members in the front are going to keep time. If you hit 2 minutes, they'll hold up a little card and then just wrap up as quickly as possible, please. Thank you very much.
Hi everybody, thank you for coming out. My name is Anne Kneztek. I am a junior here at SLU, and I am running for the position of president for SGA. I started off in SGA my freshman year, and I have loved every moment since. I was a tiny little freshman, intimidated by all those seniors, afraid to talk. And I feel like I've grown and become a new person because of my time in SGA. I've realized how much students can do on campus, and that's why I'm running for president. I think that the opportunity that students have to truly make a difference on campus is huge, and I want to make sure that the student voice is represented. Some of the things I'd like to do for next year is going to be a huge transition year. Starting either July 1 or August 1, we're going to have a new university president. We will also have a new food contract on campus. That could be the current vendor or a new vendor. And then another thing is the master housing plan should be implemented in the following year as well. So that's a huge transition for SLU. And during that time, student voices especially could get lost or pushed down to the bottom. And I want to make sure that that does not happen. That if there's a concern with the new food contract or the new university president, that those issues and concerns of students is brought up to the appropriate people, and that the concerns get followed through with and they get dealt with properly. So the big thing is making sure that the student voice is not lost in this year of transition and representing the students fully. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Tommy English. I am a freshman from Shelbyville, Kentucky, majoring in public health, pre-med, forced bio minor, and I am running for Vice President of Academic Affairs. From the first day I set foot on campus, I love SLU. I knew I would, and I've come to love it even more, and that's one of the big reasons why I got involved in SGA. I'm a first-year senior this year, so I've got to learn a lot about how SGA works and how this university works and how SGA works to improve this university. So I'm really excited to get to work to improve academics here at SLU. It's something that affects every single one of us because that's why we're here. So I'm looking to connect students with the administrators. They can help them solve the problems they talk about every day, like academic advising and registration, and just small things that can be a little bit easier fixes just to make things easier for students. So really looking forward to connect students with the administrators so that I can better be entire to the community.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Kim. I am from Los Angeles, California. I am a junior in the College for Public Health and Social Justice, studying public health with a minor in biology. And I'm running for the position of Vice President for Student Organizations. As a first generation student, coming to college was extremely intimidating and really scary to come into a new campus and a new environment. But SLU has provided me with an exceptional education, and through my experiences and making connections with amazing people here on campus, I learned to grow and think in new levels. I'm new to SGA actually. This is my first year being exposed to SGA, and I think this is a great time for me to get involved, especially in my final year at St. Louis University. This university has given back so much to me, and I'm the person that I am today because of the people here, the administration, and faculty. As Vice President for Student Organizations, I plan to continue some of the projects that our current VP of CSOs is working on. I've been meeting up with her and talking to her and collaborating so that I respect her current projects that are currently going on. My main goal is, though, to kind of make a more personable connection between the e-boards and CSOs. I feel as if SGA is not a complete presence on campus, and I really want to be that friend, that connection to all the e-boards so that I may be able to meet up with them oftenly and ask them, what do you need from me? What do you need from SGA? What can I do for you? And what can I do to improve in my position? And hopefully I want to work with our hopeful executive board to implement a system where CSOs become a state charter through a correct system of following rules and regulations regarding finance, membership, and all the other requirements to state chartered on campus. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Patel. I'm running for Vice President of Finance. I'm a current student at St. Louis University studying in the John Cook School of Business, and I'm pursuing a concentration in leadership and change management. My current experience in SGA has been extremely rewarding as a community senator and a senator on the Wellness Committee. And over the past few years at St. Louis University, I've recognized the great importance that finance plays in the growth and development of almost every student organization on campus. Finances are basically the fuel for organizations on campus. And ensuring those organizations are receiving those funds that they crucially need to grow and develop is one of my main platform points to make sure that they grow and develop and they're receiving those funds as effectively and efficiently as possible. So I want to eliminate the stress that organizations may face when requesting funds and make it more effective. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Mikaela Romo, but I go by Mika. I'm a sophomore transfer student from a small liberal arts college in Baltimore called Goucher College. I'm an elementary education major, and I'm one of five siblings. One of who is actually a junior here, and the sister after me is going to be a freshman in the fall. I'm running for the position of the VP for Diversity and Social Justice. And if I were to get this position, I would want to make sure that I work closely and even better, or fix the communication between the different CSOs on campus, the SGA committees, Greek Life, the administration, so that we can continue to push SLU in a more progressive and inclusive environment. I also really want to work with the international student population because, as some of us have noticed, that they're kind of secluded. There's always like a them and an us. So I really want to work to better immerse the international students in the domestic student population. I'm going to say something else, but so.
Hi everyone, my name is Drozdowski and I'm a junior here at SLU. I'm in the John Cook School of Business and I'm studying econ. And this year I'm running for the Vice President of Internal Affairs. One reason that I'm running, is probably the biggest reason, is that I absolutely love this university. This university has provided so much to me. It's given me great educational experiences and then friendships that will hopefully last a lifetime. And I feel like this is one great way for me to represent the student body and give back to SLU. And if I were to become the Vice President of Internal Affairs, I have several ideas that I hope to accomplish over the course of the year. One goal that I've set out for myself is to obviously increase our social media. Our current Vice President of Internal Affairs has done an excellent job of doing that, so just furthering our social media. In addition, I would like to implement a more personable atmosphere to students as well. Meeting with CSOs maybe once every other week or even once a week, just to gather that input from students there. Additionally, I would like to start a program where first-year students can view SGA for several weeks or even up to a month or two. From my personal experience, it seems as if a lot of interest comes from first-year senators that come to the university, but unfortunately we just don't have the spots for them in the Senate currently. So this would be a great way for them to learn more about the university, learn more about what SGA does. And finally, just to connect a more personal atmosphere between senators and other senators, in addition to senators and committee representatives. Hopefully by doing a Senator of the Month reward where they feel they have that strive to accomplish something within the Senate. So let's hope for that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is DuBourg Hall. I'm a junior here at SLU, majoring in aerospace engineering. And I'm from the small, very, very small, beautiful country of Belize. I'm running for the position of Vice President of International Affairs. As an international student myself, and as a Senator for international students in SGA, I've come to see firsthand what international students face on a day-to-day basis. Not being included in CSO activities, feeling that sense of, not being included in the SLU community, and I would like to work on that, making sure our international students are aware of the opportunities that are here for all students at St. Louis University, and just bridging that connection between domestic students and international students, creating a wholesome environment for all students where we can come to learn from one another and appreciate the diversity that SLU has. It's a really great thing, and a wonderful university is really diverse. I think that working with all the different offices and organizations on campus, bridging the connections between all of them, making sure that both domestic and international students live up to the concept of being a global development and personal development for all students here at SLU. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for those introductions. The next portion of our program is going to involve our panelists who volunteered to be here today. How this is going to work is the presidential candidate will get 3 questions. Each of the others will get 2. Each of our panelists will ask one of the presidential questions, and then following that, each vice presidential candidate will get asked questions from one of the panelists. There will be a 2-minute time limit to respond to each question. You do not need to speak for 2 minutes if you don't have to, but they'll do the same thing. My commission members will keep time up front. So thank you.
Good evening. And what are the traits of great leaders you respect, and how will you embody them if chosen to the position?
That's a great question. I think there are a couple of leaders that I really respect on campus and then around the world. And one of the things that they do really well is inspire and motivate, but also delegate and practice what they preach. I think that some of those areas I definitely need to grow in. Delegation in particular is one of them that I recognize that sometimes I struggle with. But I definitely think practicing what you preach is something that I'm going to hold true to, and having that motivation, giving that motivation to my fellow e-board members, but then also to Senate and the student body as a whole is something that's really important.
And probably unsurprisingly, I'm going to switch up the question a bit. And for everybody, this will be all, I'd like a response focused on the university mission. So derive it from the university mission, not the Jesuit mission. but the university mission seems to be elected to the university office. So my question effectively deals with student retention at the university and how you and your executive board hope or plan to make this a priority. And the question asks for a priority for administrators, but I think really and realistically it's a priority for all of us, administrators, students, faculty, and staff. So,
retention is a large issue on campus, and I think that there are a couple of different initiatives that the administration are working on right now to help retain students. But I definitely think as an executive board, we can really help create a great student atmosphere on campus, because that is sometimes one of the largest reasons why students leave, is because that they don't feel welcome, or that they don't feel included in the SLU community. So, like we've all talked about, including international students into the domestic student population, going out to the CSOs, asking, okay, you have problems on campus, how can we help you? Just making a more inclusive environment overall in general, not having as many bias incidents. I think that's really important, because if there's a positive sense of community on SLU's campus, then that might bring about students less likely to leave.
Thank you, Anne. For your third question, if all goes as planned, SLU will have a new president in office by the next academic year. What will you do to establish a relationship and ensure that the student voice is heard in university decisions? What will your strategy be to work with the new president, and how will you work with him or her if the president expresses opposition to your ideas?
I think to form or build a relationship with anyone, you need to start off on a personal basis. If you have a personal basis and personal knowledge of another individual, then you're more likely to see where that person is coming from, understand where their concerns are, and build a connection between the two. So I think that's how I would definitely start, is building that personal connection with the new university president. Then I think it would be an atmosphere of introducing them to the student body, showing them how great SLU really is, having the executive board and SGA as a whole meet the new university president. And engaging them in the student life is going to be something that's going to be really important to me. Whenever you work with someone, there's always going to be problems. You're not always going to agree on what each other is saying. But coming into a conversation where you disagree, I think it's really important to have an open mind and know where that person is coming and understand, okay, there might be something else behind it. But that doesn't mean that I would stop. Just because there's a little bit of a disagreement doesn't mean that you should stop pushing. Just, there's a fine line, I think, between disagreement and then not accomplishing what you think is necessary. So I definitely think that working with the president, getting to know them on a personal basis will establish a good relationship and then help me to deal with any conflict that could arise.
Next will be the candidate for Vice President of International Affairs.
Dorian, what's your history with the Jesuits and Blues?
So,
St. John's.
St. John's College, that is correct. I went to a Jesuit high school and a Jesuit junior college. The education system in Belize is slightly different. We're modeled after the British system of education. So throughout my 4 years, I actually went to a Roman Catholic primary school as well, but specifically Jesuits. I did 4 years of high school with the Jesuits down in Belize at St. John's College, and then 2 years of junior college. I think attending it, and now here at St. Louis University, and also another Jesuit institution, I think these the principles that I've learned at these Jesuit institutions have greatly impacted me as a person and allowed me to grow and live out the Jesuit mission of, helping others, being a man for others, and making sure that all are included in your efforts to make sure that you make the world a better place in whatever way you can, be it saying good morning to someone as you pass by them, or helping someone with homework in any way that you possibly can, reaching out and extending yourself to the world and making it a better place in any way that you can.
Okay, Dorian, thanks. Respectfully, that wasn't my question.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Can I have a little bit of an extension?
Yeah.
Can I have a little bit of an extension? You see it time? Good. So you're seeing the whole international student thing from kind of a first-hand perspective, and everybody talks about being more inclusive. Have you thought of any kind of specific things?
Currently, the offices that are involved with international students on campus, two of the main ones are the Office of International Services. They deal with all the student visa requirements on getting them actually here to SLU. And there's an entire week of international student orientation, and once that week is over, fall welcome activities start. And I think the distinction between international student orientation and fall welcome is too defined. International students believe that once their international orientation is over, they're simply cut out. They're not really well integrated into fall welcome. And I think that integrating these students better into fall welcome can show them the resources that are here on campus and show them what St. Louis University has to offer for them, all the opportunities and resources that are here for them to grow personally. And I think that, integrating these students better into the fall welcome system greatly impact them as individuals and make their time here at the university better, a much better one. Also, the Office of International Services has what they call the International Ambassador Program. I think that's a wonderful program. There's a group of lovely students who volunteer their time to work with a group of international students, divide them up into mentor services. And so each international ambassador gets a group of international students, and they take them out to lunch or dinner, go somewhere on campus with them, go to a movie and something like that. So I think that program can be extended to encompass a wider group of international students and can greatly make an impact on people here on campus and allow for including diversity everywhere.
Can we both have a real quick follow-up? So do you see, so I agree, I think that the international student orientation should be part and parcel of all of fall welcome. Do you see an obligation or an opportunity of the SGA to help that happen? And B, do you see it an opportunity or an obligation of the executive board generally, or you in particular, to help with recruitment as well of international students?
Okay, so on SGA's part, I think we can do much in terms of coordinating with all the different offices and making sure that the programs are in place for these students to know that it's not just international student orientation, there's also these fall welcome activities. And I think as members of our executive board as a whole, we can do much on our part to promote through social media and other means to make sure that these students are aware that there are other activities planned for them. Personally, at a standpoint, I would be happy to be here personally for the entire orientation, both fall welcome and international student orientation, making sure that things are running smoothly. There is constant cooperation between all offices involved, and make sure that no one simply falls through the cracks, and there's not that sense of disinclusion, or you're not part of the domestic fall welcome activities and stuff like that. And personally, on a personal note, I think I would definitely be able to be here for all these activities. And in terms of recruitment, I think that once we can establish a basis for growth in our orientation and making sure that international students are welcome and it's a great that they enjoy their time here at the university, that's a good stride for our recruitment efforts because these students have a lot of contacts back home, and I think if they enjoy their time here, they're going to tell their friends about it, and that it does well for the university, shows a good image on us, and it aids in our recruitment and retention processes.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. The next question will be for the Vice President of Finance candidate. All right. As you are aware, the Wellness Committee was created only 2 years ago and has struggled to receive wellness proposals. Given the past 2 years of successes and shortcomings, should the Wellness Committee continue to exist? If so, what are your plans to increase the viability of this committee?
Let's start with my view on if the Wellness Committee should stick or should it be abolished this year or the Wellness Committee. Personally, I feel like the Wellness Committee offers students the opportunity to get their initiatives funded. They don't have to be a student organization on campus to receive funds. A little bit of background about the Wellness Committee. It provides an opportunity for students or a group of students to get initiative funded that promotes the mind, body, spirit, or everyday life of students here at SLU. Currently, in the last 2 years, we have a lack of initiatives that have been submitted to the Wellness Committee. I believe the lack of initiatives that have been submitted to the Wellness Committee is because, frankly, students don't know. Students don't know that they can apply for the Legal Wellness Fund and through an initiative and go to the Wellness Committee and present it, and if it's approved by the Wellness Committee, receive funding for that initiative. So currently, I was brainstorming on how ideas that we can increase wellness applications / initiatives. One of the ways I feel like we can increase wellness applications is by holding open forums, marketing it in a different way to students that, going through a whole marketing campaign and visiting CSOs and contacting CSO leaders and letting them know that if their students have ideas or ways of improving life of students here at SLU, they can apply for those funds through the wellness funding.
Thank you. Given the national trend of declining enrollment, and which results in less revenue for SGA from the student activity fee, and coupled with increasing funding requests from CSOs and the creation of new CSOs, how do you plan to address the growing gap between revenue and expenses?
Okay. First off, I believe that we should, as for now, we should increase the student activity fee. The first approach that I would take is to encourage student organizations campus-wide that are large enough to seek other means for funding. Foremost, fundraising. Student organizations that are large in numbers, I would encourage them not to rely solely on the Finance Committee and Student Government Association, but seek other means to receive funding. That being said, I still encourage them to ask for funding from SGA, but I believe that larger organizations, they have the opportunity and the ability to fundraise for a lot of the funds that they request from SGA. I would want to take that approach first before raising the student activity fee or requesting that the student activity fee be raised to meet the expenses. But also I would encourage students and student organizations to act fiscally responsibly. I feel like some of these funds are not being used appropriately or they can be used more efficiently. And I would want to be more involved with how these organizations are spending these funds to make sure that they're being spent as efficiently as possible.
Thank you. The next questions will be for the candidate for Vice President of Internal Affairs. Drew, what is the importance of committees and how do you plan to ensure the productivity of student government's many committees?
Okay, well, I was fortunate enough to serve on the Association Reform Task Force, and I still am serving on the Association Reform Task Force. And this idea has been talked about repeatedly for several months in between all of us. Are they relevant? Absolutely. Are they important? Yes. It provides more students input to be provided to SGA. We have committee representatives that may not sit on Senate. Well, they don't sit on Senate. So we have 30, 40 students that aren't involved in Senate right there, giving us input, giving us feedback, going out to their respective areas of the university and bringing back their ideas. So it's very important for us as an e-board to hear those as well. To repeat some part of the question.
How do you plan to ensure the productivity of the many committees?
All right. This is, it's, what I thought is to make it more personal atmosphere. Currently, I don't think that SGA has that great, I don't want to say it has a bad atmosphere, but it's not as personable, it's not, and some say it's not as welcoming as what it can be. And I can see that and I understand that. So making it more personable for students to provide their input, making sure that they're feeling welcome and that their voices are heard is very important to me. So just making it a personal atmosphere, even in Senate, using first names instead of last names to make it less awkward, and so you actually know the people you're talking to, and you know the people you're having conversations with. That's huge. So.
Second question. What do you believe are some of the potential challenges and potential benefits with working with a smaller Senate in the past years?
All right. Smaller Senate, that does mean that there are fewer voices in the Senate. At the same time, it can increase productivity because we do have the opportunity to know more individuals on a personal level and work with them on a personal level. It being smaller, it does cut down, obviously, on the numbers, but at the same time, we still have to talk about committee representatives, so we can still have that input, that student input there as well. So I don't really see many disadvantages of it. I actually see opportunities.
Thank you.
My next question is for Mika, for the Vice President of Diversity and Social Justice. Given my focus on the mission of the university and my interest in the oath of inclusion, and the fact that everybody is talking about inclusion, and I guess what we're really talking about is access, isn't it, to a broader spectrum of either university offices or personnel, or a broader system of access for students to the whole enterprise. Yes. So, have you thought about how you can ensure that as many students as possible, and even more students, are engaged in the enormous variety of programming that the students and university offices offer the campus? So it strikes me that if people don't come, it's hard to include. So it's inclusion and engagement in the whole process, and looking at the oath of inclusion, the mission of the university, kind of in that whole mass.
Well, my job, if I were to be the VP of Diversity and Social Justice, it's very different from everyone else's positions, because it's not a matter of me talking to the administration and saying, this is what the student body wants. We would like more funds, or we would like our academic advisors to do this. I'm going to be dealing with people who are raised a certain way, or maybe they were raised in a certain place where they don't have to think about diversity and inclusion. Maybe they're from cities or towns that don't have a lot of diversity of ideals, of sexual orientation, race, even religion. So I think a lot of it has to do with getting the word out and emphasizing how important this is, especially because we go to a Jesuit institution. Inclusion is extremely important, and it's one of the foundations of the school and what makes it so unique. So I think a lot of people consider diversity and inclusion to be irrelevant, but I think with more and more people emphasizing the fact that this is why we're here, this is what our institution is founded on, this is important, that word of mouth and having good examples out there, making sure that they're proactive in the things that they say they're going to do is the best way to make sure that people are really truly living out the oath of inclusion here.
And something of a follow-up, do you have, if you were to be asked right now, the 3 top goals that you're going to hit the ground running with if you're elected, what would you say those three main goals are?
Well, I think one thing that I really want to focus on, I personally get a lot of my, I guess my sort of perspective of inclusion and diversity from a lot of my professors. And I know that a lot of people are taking really interesting classes with really great professors. And I really want to work with the administration to maybe host some dialogues, because we have, I'm on the diversity leadership campaign, sorry. And last semester we held about 5 or 6 different dialogues, and we had really good turnout. And so I really want to work with maybe getting the administration to come in and host dialogue about some topics, because I know that students are often, we got to their professors for advice and kind of see them as people of great knowledge. So that's one of the things I want to do. I don't know if you guys know this, but SGA just went through a reform, and we added 4 new diversity leadership cabinet seats on SGA. So I want to make sure that it's great, because the representatives on the DLC, who will be having the DLC seats, can help spread the word of things that are going on in SGA, and the students can interact and know what's going on with different religious groups, different I guess like cultural groups on campus. So I really want to make sure that everybody kind of gets to know what's going on with each other, and it's not just like the ethnic kids do their thing and then the non-ethnic kids do their thing. So, and I guess the last thing would be to keep promoting and emphasizing on how important the open inclusion is at specifically SLU. And I think I'm not going to like telling people how great it is and how important it is, because I might be that one person that always talks about diversity and inclusion, but it's something that I understand to be very important and very necessary here at this campus, and I'm not going to let that go.
Okay, so I can't disagree with anything you're saying. I think I'm going to say try. What obstacles do you see immediately to that? I mean, the goals are irrefutable. That's, the possibilities are irrefutable. Places and groups like Interfaith Alliance is incredible. So what obstacles do you see that would impede this and you need to overcome?
I think the biggest obstacle is people's ability to relate to people who are promoting social justice. Sometimes it kind of comes off as like, I don't know, maybe extreme and kind of radical, that people are always talking about diversity and social justice, and not all the time, but the majority of the time, the people that are speaking about diversity are people who have to think about it every day. And they wake up and they wear that on their skin. And that's something that is acknowledged by that person. And I think that the main obstacle will be the barrier between someone who lives that life of knowing what it's like to be different, and knowing what it's like to not be represented by people in politics, or even people here at the university. So that would be hard to find people to relate and maybe to understand the importance of it, because if you're not really living it, if you don't really know what that's like, why are you supposed to care? So I think that's the biggest barrier and obstacle that I would have to overcome.
Thank you. The next set of questions are for the candidate for the VP of Academic Affairs. All right, your first question is, what are specific areas of concern that you would like to see improved in the academic advising experience for students?
Okay. Obviously, there's a lot of complaints about academic advising, but there's not been a whole lot of concreteness to any of the problems. So this isn't really part of this question, but one of the main things I want to do is find out through contacting the students exactly what those problems are. I know a lot of things people talk about. One of the main things I hear is that academic advisors don't actually know what they're supposed to be advising the students about. So, I'm not gonna lie, I honestly don't know how to improve a problem. I don't know how to improve the quality of how someone can do their job so they can better serve students. I think that's something that I'm definitely gonna have to work with the administrators with, just brainstorming how we can fix those problems. Also, a lot of students don't feel like, I don't know, I think they have maybe a really high expectation for what their academic advisor is supposed to be there for. The advisor is there to advise and maybe not to completely handle 100% of their academic career here at SLU. So I think a big way that we can help out academic advisors and help out students is by kind of lessening that expectation that they put on the advisors by providing students with more resources when they first come to SLU, how they can learn how to be a little bit better of an advisor for themselves. I know personally I was never taught a single thing about how to register for my classes, how to find out what classes I should register for. I was never taught how to figure out how to look and see what classes do I need to do what I want to do. So I think a big thing that we can do is to teach students how to do that. When they know how to do that, then they're going to be able to go in. They'll have more specific questions for their advisor. Their advisor will be able to guide them more easily. And even if their advisor may not know exactly what they're looking and trying to do, they'll have the resources to be able to figure it out for themselves, and they're not going to make those decisions that can possibly keep you at a university for longer than you do.
All right, your second question is, because of increasing budget constraints in the coming years, SLU's next president may call for a review of academic programs, which would ultimately determine the future of specific programs. What do you believe are characteristics of strong academic programs, and on what basis should programs be evaluated? Any major.
Okay, so like eliminating majors for students.
Or keeping them.
Okay. I think it's a tough question. I know here at SLU we have a lot of really strong programs that may not have a really large student body. They don't have a lot of students that are in a certain major. For example, I think it's like environmental and like atmospheric studies or something like that. Like SLU has like really good program. I'm totally butchering what that major is called. But SLU's got a fantastic program. I know there's not a whole lot of students in it. So I guess what I would be looking for if we're going to be starting to like eliminate majors is look at what areas do we have the best faculty in. Because that's ultimately what's going to determine the success or failure of a certain major or program is how good are the teachers. That's what really defines what a major or program can do. It doesn't matter how many students you have if they don't have teachers that can help them be successful, help them accomplish things, they're not going to do anything. So looking at where are the strengths of our faculty, where can we support our faculty to help them be able to do the best job that they can do so that we have students becoming as successful as they can.
Thank you. The next questions will be for the candidate for Vice President of Student Organizations. Nicole, how do you plan to hold charter student organizations accountable for submitting important information such as updating documents and attending required events while maintaining good relationships between student government and those charter student organizations?
That's a very good question. Before I was exposed to SGA, I actually am involved in numerous organizations on campus. And I kind of asked friends who are actually holding leadership positions in these organizations, and kind of like one of the problems that they're facing and one of the issues that they brought up was definitely the document issue, turning in documents properly, whether it's regarding finance or in terms of chartering. And I think one of the most important things as the whole VP for student organization is to create specific instructions in terms of how to turn in each of these documents. Because I know a lot of these organizations get into a little bit of an issue where in terms of like their chartering, just because of a simple issue of not turning in a document properly. So one of the things I want to make sure to create specific instructions in terms of turning in documents properly and on time, and in terms of like meeting and making a personal connection with the SGA e-board. I hope to hold roundtables for e-boards because I want to get to know them personally. I don't want to be someone who's just in charge of chartering and dechartering organizations. I want to get to know them on a more personal level. So one of my big goals is to meet up with them, meet up with CSOs once a week, so I can talk to them, get some feedback on what I can do to improve, and kind of give them feedback as well in terms of, here's a warning, you didn't turn in this document properly, or you are in danger of becoming decharted because of this. So I just definitely want to become more of a personal connection. And I want to do this through, I actually gave up some of my involvement with some of my organizations that I'm involved with so that I can dedicate more time to making that connection with people.
If you were selected as the Vice President of Student Organizations and you learned that a student organization's executive board had resigned and the organization was without leadership, what would be your plan of action to address the situation, and what can SGA do to prevent such occurrences?
So if DuBourg is without a leadership position. Okay. See, that's a very difficult thing. One of the things is I find that in this position, it's one of the most difficult things to do is to decharter an organization. And one of my goals earlier in my introduction, I talked about kind of implementing a more better system in which CSOs have to follow certain rules and requirements in terms of membership, in terms of a strong executive board in their CSO, and in terms of finance and how they allocate funds for the organization. It's really difficult to say. Before I was involved in SGA, I'm a first-year experienced leader, and all the involvement on campus, it's really hard for students to have their organization decharged due to a diminishing e-board. If there was a lack of leadership in an organization, I feel like unless I give them a warning in terms of you need to step up to the plate, you need to bring more leadership into the organization. Otherwise, I would have to go through the dechartering process, because if an organization exists without a strong, prominent leadership and without a purpose and with diminishing numbers in their student organization, I see no purpose in keeping them chartered. I know that's really hard for me to say, because I definitely pride our university in having numerous and diverse organizations on campus. But if it gets to that point where there is no leadership stepping up to the plate, I would have to inform them that I would have to go through the deterrent process.
Thank you all very much. That concludes the second portion of our program. And now for the final portion, we're going to have an opportunity for the audience to ask questions. And I've been keeping up with my Twitter. We've got lots of good questions coming in with the hashtag AskSGA2014. So what we'll do is we'll alternate a Twitter question with an audience question. We'll go for about 15 minutes for this portion, or until we run out of questions. So I'm going to take the first question from Twitter. We've got one here. Any of you can feel free to answer this. Some are more tailored to certain positions than others. The first question from Twitter is coming from a student named Robbie. He says, as president of SLU Rainbow, I'm concerned about the bias incident reports of sexual orientation. How will you deal with this? And keep in mind, these questions are unfiltered, uncensored. They're coming right from the student body.
Okay, so I guess an issue that I have really found that really happens with the bias incidents is that I don't think a lot of people really understand what a bias incident is, or what, I guess, the criteria for whatever determines a bias incident. I actually just heard about one that happened over the weekend. I heard about it on Monday, and one of my friends told me, and I was like, well, did you report it? And she said, like, what do you mean? Where would I report that? So a lot of it has to do with communication. A lot of people don't really know that that exists, what a bias incident is considered, and where and how you report these incidents. So I think that it's a matter of just making sure that everyone's aware that there are way more bias incidents that occur than are reported, obviously. But it's just a matter of making sure that everybody realizes that these things are happening, and with more people reporting them and everyone seeing how many actually occur on campus, maybe that will stir something up and push people to change, because I guess no one's just really aware the bias incidents that actually go on.
Thank you. Now there's an opportunity for someone in the audience to ask a question. Does anyone here have a question they'd like to ask of the candidates? Yeah, sure, Richard.
Richard Joubert, former Vice President of Academic Affairs, 2 years ago.
Vice President Emeritus Joubert.
I have a question for Tommy English. One of the big academic issues our student body faces if they're studying abroad, they have to work with the study abroad office, and study abroad, working with them can be a nightmare. Not just can be, it is a nightmare. Especially if you're studying on the Madrid campus, forms online, or the information online doesn't always match the information on the Madrid campus. And also, students that go abroad to the Madrid campus, some of the stuff that the SLU counselors say is totally different than what Madrid campus tells you to do. So how can you better address that? And also, how can you better address or better represent and work with the SLU Madrid SGA? They haven't been contacted by SGA in over 3 or 4 years.
I mean, honestly, I know nothing about study abroad because I'm a freshman at study abroad. So I guess like the main thing we just learn about it. It sounds like you probably need just a better way for students to learn exactly what's supposed to be going on before they leave. If they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing with classes and forms and I don't know what all goes on. If they know what they're supposed to be doing before they leave, they're not going to have as many problems once they get there and they face issues where they're not able to get the information that they need. So I'm not sure how that works, but just making sure students are better prepared before they leave. And I did not know that Madrid campus had an SGA. Never even thought about it. So, Anne over here, she can talk about that if she wants to.
In terms of working with the SGA that's on the Madrid campus, I definitely think that it's something that should be done by the SG president, getting in contact with whoever that president is, seeing what Madrid concerns are, how they're getting overlap with students here at SLU, and how we can work together to accomplish things. I definitely think is something that should be done and something that I definitely work on for next year.
Thanks. We'll take the next question from Twitter. We've got some creative hashtag usage here. We've got a student named Eric asking, do any of you have thoughts on lumping Metro passes into our tuition to help students hashtag connect to the city? Until and much you do it, why not SLU?
That's definitely something that I've actually asked myself, and I don't think I've ever gotten a clear answer from the administration as to why that is something that we cannot do. Especially with the new brand entrance over there, I definitely think using the Metro or the buses is a great way, first of all, for SLU students to get involved and immersed into the community that we live in. We're told, students are sometimes told that don't go north of SLU, and I think that's not SLU living out our Jesuit mission. And I definitely think that FAC is a great way for students to get into St. Louis as a whole and really love and appreciate the city that we live in. So that's definitely something that I would want to look into next year for sure.
Thanks. We'll take the next question from the audience. President Sherman.
All right, I'm going to ask another question. This is for the VP of Academic Affairs candidate. Seeing as there is likely to be a search for a new Vice President for Academic Affairs or Provost in the next year, probably called by the new University President, what qualities and traits do you prioritize in a Provost? What should her or his priorities be once she or he starts?
I think the main quality that I look for is someone who is going to be hardworking but also personable. There are a lot of issues that need to be fixed, so they're going to need to be able to come in and be determined to fix those. But they also need to be personal, because if you hire someone that's really hardworking and they do all this work but it's not what the students need, it's not going to be very useful. So they need to be somebody that's going to be engaged with students, learning what student issues are, what student needs are, what student wants are, so that they can work to better provide for students, because students come here to get an education. So academics need to be tailored toward what students desire, so that we can continue getting better and better students each year. Did I miss the second half of that question?
Yeah, you did. So the second half of the question was, what should her or his priorities be once she or he starts?
Okay, so I kind of touched on that. Overarching, just focus on providing students what they need, whether that be focusing more on research, which some students as a research institution say that we should focus more on, or that be moving away from research. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, and it's not very specific.
All right. The next couple questions via Twitter have to deal with student organizations. there are two that kind of go together, so I'll ask them as one question. We've got a student named Betsy asking, what changes will you make to remove barriers to student leaders and organizations, such as like the 20-day policy for submitting events, alcohol restrictions at CSO fundraisers, and then also how will SGA help student organizations whose events and speakers are difficult to pass through the administration?
Okay, that's numerous issues. I'm also,
sorry.
yeah, I might need you to repeat that, repeat this third part later. But I'm on the panel council here on campus, and the alcohol problem, I definitely know that some of the events that take place on campus, we have issues where students come intoxicated to philanthropy events, to community service events, to just regular events that student organizations throw. And I think that is obviously unacceptable. And one of the things that, as VP for student organizations, I think it's crucial and essential to kind of bring awareness to that, because I feel like students who get away with coming intoxicated to a school or university event does not really gain repercussions and consequences for their actions. Most of the students that are at the event, I've been personally there myself, where I had to end up reporting a student who came intoxicated to one of our events. And I find that, in a way, a bit infuriating, because it's not really living out our mission. We go to different organization events to support each other, to support one another through our events, through our philanthropy events, and bringing community service to our community. And so, definitely, the issue with the alcohol is definitely something that we need to talk about, bring awareness for, and actually kind of like address that, so that the students who do end up coming intoxicated to event know the repercussions and consequences based on our alcohol policy here at SLU. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, the other parts of the question were regarding some of the bureaucratic challenges that student leaders face when planning events and bringing speakers to campus. How would you help students through that process?
Well, actually, I'm trying to bring a speaker to our campus in March, and I find that it's the process is not too difficult. Going through the PPF form and through the Student Involvement Center, it's the only thing that I have personally had an issue with was in terms of turning in documents properly. I still am a bit confused in terms of doing the PPF, in terms of calling event services and making sure it doesn't collide with other student organization events. One of the things that I would tell that student who answered the question is that I'm here to make a connection, make a personal connection where I can be a resource, an accessible resource in terms of making the process smooth, in terms of bringing a speaker to our campus, bringing a certain organization to our campus so that we can bring awareness about a certain issue. It could be a little bit troublesome, but I think with proper steps and giving them proper instructions and being an accessible resource as a VP for student organizations and working closely with the Student Involvement Center, I think that the student leaders of the organizations can come to me and I can help them through the process.
Okay. Do we have another question from the audience? Yeah, Amelia. Vice President Rowan.
So my question is for Drew and Nika. Considering that there will be 4 new seats added to Senate this coming academic year, what are some ways that you can see those seats best being utilized on Senate? And Drew, I guess for you, do you have any special plans internally to welcome the new seats?
Okay, so I think the first thing that we need to do is obviously give them a good proper introduction and kind of make sure that we update them on parliamentary procedure so that they're fully equipped to start SGA. Even though there are new seats on Senate, we're not going to really favor them in any way. We just want them to, get in and start working so we can better represent all different communities and perspectives on campus.
Going along with that, I guess after the election process, the LC seats, for those of you that are unaware, is an internal internal process for DLC initially votes on 4 senator positions. So as soon as that is figured out, and once those senators are decided upon, try to contact them this year. Trying to see if they need anything to prepare for this year so that they can look at it over the summer. Excuse me. Just making sure that they're aware, like trying to help them this year, trying to make them more comfortable with the process right now. I do not want to wait until first semester next year for them to all of a sudden walk into Senate and be nervous, especially with those new positions that there aren't really very specific guidelines. We don't really know 100% what to expect from those senators. So I just want to try and aid them in their comfortable comfortableness with that. That's a weird word, but yeah. In addition, we have overnight retreats for the first semester, obviously including them as well. That, along with every other senator.
All right, thanks. We've got time for maybe 2 more questions. The next question via Twitter comes from a student named Brian. It's a very timely concern. He says, what would Connect's plan be to help students get basketball tickets more easily? Brian expresses concern that students got free tickets just to sell them.
So if you've seen the email for the tickets coming out this week, I think that's one first good step for students to get tickets. That starting at 7:30, they're going to have it in 3 different locations. So if you are on the Med campus, there's going to be a location there. If you're over down by Grand Forest or anything, there's going to be tickets down by at the arena, and then there's going to be some in the BSC. I think that's first of all a good way to make sure that students are spread across campus and getting them, and then it's at a time while it's 7:30 in the morning. Students are still going to get up, and that's before classes start, so that students are able to get those tickets. I think it's important that we remain as a place where we don't have to necessarily go and get those tickets all the time. I think there should probably be a larger amount of tickets, so working with the athletics departments to make it so that students can have the opportunity to get more tickets. As far as students selling the tickets, I don't know how to necessarily stop that. I think that's something that shouldn't be done, and I think that's on the ownership of the student. However, I would highly encourage students to get a ticket if you're going to go to the game. Don't try and sell it for $100, $150. I think that's not living out our mission, and there are students across campus who really want those tickets and want to go to the game. So I think it's a little absurd that some students are doing that.
Thanks, Ann. One more audience question. Richard? Or, sorry, Ryan. Why don't we give Ryan an opportunity?
Hi, Senator I guess Tamika or Ann, have you guys thought about seriously about the creation of a physical women's center on campus or around campus for victims of sexual assaults, harassment, other physical, psychological?
Okay, so I'm actually a part of the Sexual Assault Prevention Committee here on campus, and we were just talking about this on Sunday. At the law school, the old law school is just kind of, I don't think it's being utilized for anything specifically. I know there are a couple of other people that want to use that area for something, but I definitely think that's an important issue. We were talking about how WashU has a center where if someone is sexually assaulted, they're referred to WashU, and it's common that sexual assaults happen at night, and sometimes maybe the victims might not have a car, so that they can go and drive to WashU. So transportation is a big issue, and I really think that that is definitely something that I really want to make sure we at least look at this year, or this coming year, because I understand how important it is, and I know that sexual assaults happen here on campus, and it's good to talk about it and understand and accept the fact that it happens. So let's do something about it.
Mika, I'm actually going to have you stay up here and field our last question from Twitter. This is obviously Hey Nika, this is from a student named Tanya. She says, can you comment on the current resources that SLU provides for non-Catholic students? And she asks, how can and will we do more for those students?
Okay. Like I just said about the law school, that was one of the things that I remember a couple of my friends talking about, specifically my Muslim and Hindu friends, that they want to utilize the law school to make sort of like a prayer center for people who are not Catholic. I know that there is one that's behind or near Marg and DMAT, but I've heard a lot that it's really far from people's classes, and there's always, I guess in like the Muslim religion, they have set times when they have to meditate and pray, and if their class is on med school, they don't really have a place where they can meditate, and that's part of their daily routine and their lives and their religion. And we certainly embrace the Catholic religion here on campus, but I think we need to start realizing that there are other religions that are also direct SLU in big numbers. So I really want to make sure that the law school, the old law school, is utilized for as much as we can to accommodate students of all religions.
Perfect. Well, thank you all so much for attending tonight. It was really great to have all of you. Thank you to the candidates, and thank you again to the panelists and the support, those who supported me to pull the event off. Make sure you vote on February 25th. All the election polling is done online at groups.sluconnection.com, so students, you can look for more information about that in the coming week. Candidates, I would also encourage you to browse, if you're on Twitter, to browse the hashtag AskSGA2014, because there are some really good questions that we didn't have time to ask tonight. And students, I encourage you that if you have questions you want to ask of the candidates, definitely do so before the election. So thank you all again so much, and I hope you have a wonderful night.